Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. This is on AWS Key Management Service or KMS. And this is one of the most important topics in the entire course in order to pass your exam. KMS will come up many times in your exam. You might be wondering, why isn't this in the data security section? Why is this in infrastructure security? Well, the reason is yes, KMS is used to secure your data. It is basically an encryption management service. However, in order to explore the infrastructure security, we need to use aspects of KMS. For that reason, we're going to introduce it here rather than in the next section of the course. Now, like I said, it is a fundamental topic in the exam. Essentially, you need to understand KMS inside out, as well as watching all of section 3 of this course, so understanding IAM policies, S3 bucket policies, and object ACLs and how they interact. If you have those two key fundamental understandings, so how the interaction of policies as well as KMS, you have a massive chance of passing your exam. Let's just start with what it is though. So it's a managed service that makes it easy for you to create and control the encryption keys used to encrypt your data, and it uses hardware security modules or HSMs to protect the security of your keys. Now, we will cover Cloud HSM in a couple of lectures. The main difference between AWS KMS and Cloud HSM is that AWS KMS sits on multi-tenant hardware and Cloud HSM is dedicated hardware to you. That is basically the only difference, and I'll compare them at the end of Cloud HSM as well. So the best way to learn KMS is to log into the console, but I have a challenge for you. Can you find where the KMS service is located? See if you can do it now. Okay, let's log into the console. Okay, so I'm logged into the AWS console, and if I click on services and I search for KMS, I'm not going to see it. It's not in security, identity, and compliance. If I even type up here KMS, I'm not going to get any results apart from identity access management. So let's click in on IAM. And it will land me in here, but I still can't see the words KMS. Well, it's actually here. It sits under encryption keys. So if you click on this and you've never used KMS before, you'll see a landing page. I have been using this. I've been playing around this morning, creating keys, just deleting keys, etc. And you can see here your region is US East North Virginia. So this is a very first important exam point. IAM itself is global. When you create users and groups, that does it at a global level, but your encryption keys are local to your region. So to keep things simple, I'm going to be using the EU Irish region when I create my keys, so you can easily follow along. Before we go through and start creating our keys, what we want to do is we want to just have a look at a scenario. So let's assume that we have an accountant who's just started with us, a chief financial officer, and he's going to be storing all our finance reports in an S3 bucket that only really he should access. Let's go in and create a whole bunch of different users, and then we're going to add them into different groups. So the very first thing we do, we're going to add 3 users. So the first user, I'm going to use heroes of mine. So my biggest hero in the world is Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is our first user, and he's going to be our system administrator. I'm then going to add another user. I'm going to add my second user. I'm going to call this John Adams, who was the second president of the United States. And there's a great show or series on HBO called John Adams. I highly recommend watching it. It goes for about 6 or 7 episodes, about an hour each. And then my third person that I admire is Thomas Jefferson. Surprise, surprise. And the John Adams and Thomas Jefferson letters are really fascinating to read if you ever want to buy a book. So we've got Elon Musk, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. So John Adams is going to be our financial controller because he was the second president. Thomas Jefferson was the third president, and we'll just say he works in the accounts team, but he's not a CFO. So we've got our 3 different users. What we're going to go in and do is give them AWS management console access. I'm going to auto-generate a password. Just to avoid getting really complicated with all our policies, please untick this box. Just use the auto-generated passwords and go ahead and hit next. And then we're not going to add any users to groups just yet because we don't have any groups. We're going to go in and create our users or our groups later. So go ahead and create your 3 users. My 3 users are here. I'm going to show the passwords. If you can, please open up some form of notepad editor so you can keep track of all this. It makes it so much easier. So I'm going to copy my passwords into Notepad. Okay, so I've pasted all my passwords into Notepad. You might want to paste the usernames in case you forget, but for me it's going to be pretty easy. It's Elon Musk followed by the second president, followed by the third president. And then what you want to do is just close that down. So we've created our 3 users. Let's go ahead and create our 2 groups. So we're going to have the group of administrators, and go ahead and hit next. And then we're, in terms of what we're going to give this group access, or what policy we're going to apply it, we're going to do administrator access. So go ahead and hit next, and we'll go ahead and create our group. So we've got our group administrators. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a group called finance, and we'll do finance, hit next. And in here, we want them to have S3 full admin access. We also, to make our lives easier, we want them to have read-only access to the AWS console. So if you just type in read-only, I think if you scroll all the way down in here, we've got read-only access, and this will grant read-only access to all AWS services. And we need that to be able to see our encryption keys, which we'll see in a little bit. So go ahead and add that to finance, and we'll go ahead and create our group. So we've got our administrators here, we've got our finance here. Let's make Elon Musk our administrator. So go in and add users to a group. Go ahead and hit add users. By the way, if there's any SpaceX or Tesla employees out there, big shout out to you. Now let's go back to groups, and we're going to go through and we're going to add our 2 users to finance. So let's add our users to finance. So we're going to add in John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and hit add. So there we go. I've created my groups. I should point out I'm doing this using the root account. If you... Hopefully you're doing the same, or at least hopefully you're doing this using an account with sufficient privileges to do all this. Now in here, if you just copy this link into your clipboard and then go ahead and paste that into your notepad, because you're going to be using that link an awful lot. Okay, so we have created our users, we've created our groups, and we've assigned all our different policies to the groups, which our users will inherit. So what's the next thing that we're going to do? Well, we're going to go in and create an encryption key. So what we're going to do is we'll choose a region that's local to you. So I'm going to use EU Ireland, and I'm going to go ahead and create a key. And the key, I'm going to call this John's MK, so master key. So John Adams master key. And in the description, I'm going to say for the CFO only. Now in here, we've got our advanced options. We can do KMS or we can do external. In the next lecture, what we're going to do is we're going to provide our own key material from an external source. We're going to generate it using OpenSSL. But for now, we're just going to use Amazon's KMS. So let's go ahead and hit next. In here, we can do a tag key. So we could do finance, and then CFO, so who in the finance department owns this. It's our CFO. And then here is the key administrator, okay? So who is going to administer this key? Well, do we want Elon Musk to control the key? He is a system administrator who works for us, but he really shouldn't be digging into our finance reports. I mean, he's supposed to just keep our AWS environment in shape. I'm not going to give him key administration in case he wants to go in and read people's, pay slips or something like that. John Adams, we're going to give him access. Thomas Jefferson, we're not. Note that you can also give access to roles as well as users, but I'm just going to add it into John. And in here, key deletion, allow key administrators to delete this key. If a key administrator deletes this key, your data, and you don't, the data is encrypted, you're going to lose that data. So that's a really good question. What happens if you have a falling out with John and he decides to leave the company and he has encrypted everything, but then he goes on to decide to delete the key? So why don't we leave it and let's just allow him to delete the key, and we'll go in and test it. We'll see what happens in that scenario. So let's go ahead and hit next steps. In here, we choose the IAM users that can use this key to encrypt and decrypt data from within the applications. So again, I definitely don't want Elon to be able to go in and start, decrypting people's pay slips. I'm going to give it to John and John alone. So we'll go ahead and hit next. Note down here, you can actually give external AWS accounts the ability to use your key. And if you do that, you just have to click in here and then enter in the ARN of the root, the actual account ID of the of the AWS account that you want to give access to. I'm not going to do that though. I'm just going to hit remove. Go ahead and hit next. And here's the key policy. So it's JSON creating a whole bunch of key value pairs, but essentially it's allowing John Adams to use this key and to administer this key as well as delete this key. So let's go ahead and hit finish. And there we go. This has been provisioned. Now, this key has been provisioned in Ireland. So I can only use this key in the Irish regions. And this is where it can get a little bit confusing because IAM is global. You can see up here it says global. But if I create an EC2 instance or an S3 bucket, they have to be in the Irish regions in order to use this key. So very important exam point there. Let's go in and do that. Let's go in and create an S3 bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go to S3. And I'm going to create a bucket, and I'm just going to call this my super confidential information. And then I'm just going to add some random numbers there. I'm going to make sure the region is the same as where my key is stored. And I'm going to go ahead and create this bucket. Okay, so we've created the bucket, my super confidential information. Now what we want to do is I want to log out of the AWS console as the root user, and I'm going to log in as John Adams, and I'm going to upload a couple of files to this S3 bucket, and I'm going to encrypt them using my KMS key, as well as just normal server-side encryption. Then what we're going to do is we're going to log out, and we're going to log in as Thomas Jefferson, and we're going to see if we can access that information. And then we're going to log out and log back in as Elon Musk, and we'll see if Elon Musk is able to view that as an AWS administrator. Then we're going to change Elon Musk's privileges down to a normal system administrator, not a full admin access, and we'll see what the differences are. So it's very hands-on. So to log out, just click up here and go sign out. Grab your URL. This will save you lots of time, and just copy and paste that. And so we come back up here, paste it in, and there we go. So now I'm going to log in as John Adams. So john.adams. By the way, everyone, I'm deleting these accounts as soon as this lecture's finished recording. So don't even try to log in using these credentials. So John Adams, there we go. I'm logging in. Now, hopefully you should be able to, and you might want to save these passwords. It might save you a bit of time as we switch between users. Yeah, we're able to log in and we're able to view everything in the AWS console. If you're having any kind of error messages when you click into things like IAM, it might be that you didn't give read-only access. So do bear that in mind. So let's go over to services and we'll go over to S3. We have full admin access to S3. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in and go to my confidential information. So we're going to upload 2 files. I'm going to keep this super practical, teach you something that you could use in real life. So the very first file we're going to upload is just a pretend payslip. So it says my payslip, $1,000. The next thing we're going to upload is a Ether wallet. And a Ether wallet consists of 2 things. It consists of a public address and then a private key. Now with the public address, that's what you use to send cryptocurrencies to people. So if you want to send some Ethereum to someone, all you need is their public address. You also have the ability to look up other people's wallets and see how much money is inside them. But in order to do the payment, in order to send ethers on to other people, you're going to need a private key. And for that reason, that's why you should always protect your private key, because if someone ever gets your private key to your Ether wallet, they can go in and just send that on and then it's gone. You'll never get that back. So I wanted to make this really hands-on. I've been dabbling in cryptocurrencies for the last 3 months. I don't actually know all that much about Bitcoin. Ethereum is the one that really interests me. And if you're interested in course on Ethereum and cryptocurrencies, do tweet me because it's something I'd very much like to do, but all my staff and people within my company say it's not cloud related. So we'll see. Okay, so I'm in Google. To generate an Ether wallet, super easy. Just type in Ether, I think it's myetherwallet.com, myetherwallet.com. And there it is. And we're going to go ahead and generate a Ether wallet. So the way we do it, we have to enter a password. You should always remember what this password is because you will need it. So do write it down somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and hit create new wallet. And then you can download the key store file as a JSON document. So up to you whether or not you want to do that. I may as well just click download. And then I'm also going to click I understand continue. And I'm going to click print paper wallet. And here is my paper wallets. So you could go and print this out on Little Print Guru. I don't know what you call your printer, but that's what I call mine. And you could change this to save as a PDF, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to save it to my downloads directory, which is in here, and hit save. So this is my Ether wallet. Like I said, this address is public. This address is private. If anyone ever finds out this address, they can empty your wallet. So this is what you want to keep secret at all times. And we're going to basically go in and encrypt this. Okay, so I'm in my downloads directory. I've got the 3 files. Let's go over to S3 and upload these. Okay, so I'm in S3. Let's go ahead and hit upload. I'm going to add my 3 files. So we're going to do my wallet, my payslip, and then the JSON that's also my wallet. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. Instead of hitting upload, I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Now, as I go through, let's go ahead and just leave everything else as default. And then we're going to go in here, and under encryption, we've got the S3 master key. So we're going to allow Amazon to use their keys and we don't have to worry about it. Or are we going to use KMS? Let's use KMS, and we're going to select our key, and it's going to be John's key. Now, if you can't see John's key, you have to make sure that your S3 bucket is in the same region as your key. So for me, this is both the Irish regions. That's probably going to be the issue. Go ahead and hit next, and then go ahead and hit upload. So this has uploaded 3 documents, our PDF file, our JSON document, as well as our payslip. I'm going to go in and just quickly rename this to make it a bit more user-friendly. So I'm just going to call it mywallet.txt. Go ahead and hit save. So we've got 3 objects in our bucket, and they're all encrypted using our encryption key. What do you think would happen if we made this public? So let's go ahead and make our payslip public. We'll go in and go more. We'll go into make public, and we'll go make public as well. So it is now public. If I click on it and I click on this link here, what do you think is going to happen? There you go. We've got an error, and it's saying invalid argument. Request specifying server-side encryption with AWS managed keys requires AWS signature version 4. So it's encrypted. People cannot view this even though the document itself is public. The reason they can't view it is because they don't have the encryption key. Let's go back to our bucket and let's click on our payslip. If we go over to properties, we can see that encryption is AWS KMS. If you click in there, you can go in and change the actual encryption. Let's do it to AES 256 and hit save. Let's go back over to our overview and click on our link. And you can see now that because Amazon have the key and we've enabled it as public, we've made the object public, we can go in and that's exposed. People can see the pay slip. So with KMS, that's an added layer of security so that if somebody goes in and accidentally makes something public, don't worry, it's encrypted anyway. No one will be able to do it without the KMS key. Next thing I want to do, if I just go back to my S3 bucket, let's click on my about.pdf. In here, if I actually click on the object itself so that it opens up this page, I can also download it and open it. So let's go ahead and hit open. If I hit open, it will open in my browser because Amazon is basically using that key to open it up and we have access to it. So here as the user who has access to that key, we can click open and it will open it up. So now the fun part, let's log out and let's log in as Thomas Jefferson. So I'm going to log out of my AWS console. I'm going to log back in. So Thomas Jefferson, and then paste the password in there. I'm going to save this password back over to S3. Now, Thomas Jefferson doesn't have access to our key. In fact, if we go into IAM and have a quick play, go over to encryption keys, and if we try and do anything inside IAM, we do have a read-only access to IAM, and I'm just going to change my region over to Ireland, and in here I can see the key. But if I try and do anything with the key, like maybe I want to add myself as an administrator, let's add Thomas Jefferson as an administrator and hit attach, I'm going to get error. It's saying, no, you're not allowed to do that. What are you doing, buddy? And of course, I've got CloudTrail turned on. So that has now been logged through CloudTrail. And you could set up alerts, to see if people are starting to play with your keys. Like that would be a pretty serious thing, right? Someone is trying to manipulate the keys and become administrators of it. You probably want to be alerted about that. So I can't actually do anything. I don't have the permissions. Let's go over to S3 and see what I can do inside S3. Remember with S3, I have full administrator access. The only thing I don't have access to is the key. Now, the payslip we made public using AWS's key. So if I click in there and click in here, I should be able to see the payslip, which I can. If I click back and go back to my bucket, now the about blank.pdf, if I click in here, and hit open. So there we go. I get this XML error. It's basically saying authorization null. I'm not authorized to access this object. What about if I hit open? What do you think would happen? Again, I get an error message, access denied, access denied. So I can't open it even inside the S3 console, even though I'm an S3 administrator. I can't do it through a public facing, even though the object is public. Let's be cheeky. What about if I download it? Access denied. I can't download it. I can't open it. I can't make it public and go in and try and access it because I don't have the key, right? It's encrypted. Everything is being denied to me at this level. I just don't have, I need the key in order to be able to access this object. So if you think about it from a cryptocurrency point of view, AWS is a great place to store your wallet. S3 is highly available. You can do cross-region replication, so you could replicate your wallet to another region, and then you could actually go in and secure your wallet using AWS KMS, and you could make sure that only you have access to that key. So I wonder what would happen if Elon Musk logged in and tried to go and view these files and download them and open them, because remember, Elon Musk has full administrator access. Well, let's see. So I don't like my videos going over 20 minutes, so I'm going to end the lecture here. Please go make yourself a coffee and have a break, and then when you've got the time, please join me in the next lecture. Thank you.